Let's compare the Leica Q camera here to my Nikon Z7. So these are two of my favorite cameras to use as a professional photographer. And some things I like about them, both of the cameras are relatively light. The Leica Q is only 1.4 pounds. It's a little bit lighter than the Nikon Z7 in most cases, depending on the lens you use on the Z7. We'll get into that in a moment. I also like that both of them have physical controls for a lot of your basic functions. So you can control aperture, you can control shutter speed using physical controls on both cameras. And I like that because it just makes it easier to set that when you're out in the field taking photos without having to go and use a digital menu. Some other things I like, both of them do have an LED screen and a viewfinder, an electronic viewfinder option. So you can basically decide exactly how you want to frame up that shot. I think the viewfinder on the Leica Q is a bit higher quality than the Nikon, but one thing that's nice is that on the Nikon, the screen is bigger and you can also tilt it. The screen on the Leica Q is fixed. Now, in terms of the optics, the Leica Q has a fixed prime 28mm lens. It's an f1.7. It's a fantastic lens. It's definitely the best lens that I've ever used. Incredibly crisp. It's got that Leica look that people like to talk about. The detail is just superb. But the challenge is that because it is a fixed prime lens, you have no zoom and you cannot change the focal length. You're going to be using 28mm and that's it. On the Nikon Z7, on the other hand, it's a camera body and then a removable lens. So you can switch that out, you can change up the lens depending on the kind of work you're doing. At the moment, I've got it here with the camera body as a Z7 body, and then I've got an 18 to 70mm lens on here, just pretty basic, versatile semi-zoom lens. And that allows you to do zoom, and again, it allows you to switch out the lens. The lens is not included with the camera body versus with the Leica Q. The two are connected together, so you're not going to need to look at that separately. Overall, the quality of the images, both of them are going to take excellent photos. I really like the look of the photos on the Leica Q. It does tend to expose a bit more for the shadows, so you do need to do a bit of editing with the Leica Q's photos versus I find that the Z7 from Nikon, you can more often use the photos straight out of the camera. You don't have to do a lot of editing. Both will take a RAW and a JPEG side by side, so you can do development later, digital development later if you want to. Technically, both of them have Wi-Fi capability. I find that the Wi-Fi on the Leica Q is a little bit buggy. The Z7 does a better job of Wi-Fi connectivity with a phone app and being able to connect in and do that, and overall just has better digital features. I also find the video capture on the Z7 is much better than on the Leica. I almost never use the video capture on there. That said, again, the Leica look and just how great the photos are. The glass on here is superb. Because it is a fixed prime, it's perfectly sort of mated to the camera, and that makes it at really excellent quality. If you put a really good prime on the Nikon here, you might get similar quality, but I don't know, that Leica look, there's just something to say for it in my experience. The only other thing I would say is that the Leica Q is going to capture a smaller image than the Nikon Z7. The Z7 is 45 megapixels. It's quite a large image on there. And so, both of these are fantastic cameras. I use both of them for my work. I tend to use the Leica Q when I'm traveling just because it is so light, and also when I want a more discrete camera because it's very compact. The Z7 I'll use when I need to be able to use those interchangeable lenses and to have zoom. Otherwise, both of these are just fantastic cameras that are really fantastic for many kinds of photo work.